Hello, and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video with me, Elven Dragon. So, last episode we went and added in a few more floating islands to our redstone pit here. Add in about 4 different farms, and since then we've pretty much been kind of connecting them all up and putting in a bunch more of our floating islands to path all the way around the area. So, we now have a path going all the way from our 1 tree farm down below, all the way up to our new 2x2 tree farm, and I'm quite happy with how this is working out. We still have a few more islands that we've added in that need some undersides to them, but all in all, everything is going pretty well. But while I was busy working on that, I did go and discover that we've got some new copper things, which meant that there was one thing that we had to do, and that was make a mini copper tree that matches our little iron trees that we've got all along our main path, from our cave that leads to our main base to our main cave that we have for our nether portal, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. So if we glide right down here, you can see that we've got no ability to actually land on any of our little islands down here. A little tree down here. I've got a few more marked out throughout the area that I haven't really done a whole lot with, but you can see we've got copper lantern, copper bars, and we have some copper chains that are supporting the lantern there. I think the leaves look a lot better on the actual copper tree, but I think that could be because we need some copper grates in these little ones as well. I just did the glass for right now. I definitely think some grates to kind of blend the colors a little bit better will help a lot. But with these, that means that there is some more stuff that we can go and add to our big copper tree. So I definitely want to hang some of the lanterns from the leaves there and the branches, kind of like what we have for the iron trees. I think we used some chains for those as well. But I want to see what all we have. So I know we have the copper bars. I don't know where we're going to fit these in. I'd like to fit all of the copper stuff into that tree. At least for one of the trees. I don't know if we do that for all of them. Yeah, we definitely have chains on those. But I've gone in on our crafting table, gone and searched for oxidized stuff, because that should pull up all the copper stuff. And so we definitely have the copper bars. We've got the lanterns. That's going to look really nice when that oxidizes. Chains. It looks like lightning rods now oxidize. Okay, we could add some of that. And we have apparently these copper golem statues, which looks like it's just an oxidized copper golem, and a chest. Okay. Let's switch this to searching for copper so we can maybe figure out how to craft some of this stuff. Because that copper chest and that golem are new. How do we make a copper chest? Okay, copper ingots on a chest. Doesn't look like there's a way to craft the copper golem, but I'm willing to bet that's just a pumpkin on a copper block, or a section of copper blocks. Let's play around with it. And it does look like we have copper tools and armor. So that skeleton last time was probably actually wearing copper armor. Kind of cool. We're a little short on copper right now, so we'll have to go and grab a little bit more of that. Should have plenty of ore though, just we have to go and smelt that. But all in all, I think it should be good. So I'm gonna go get a few of those things and get ready to go and add some more foliage to our copper tree. And then I'll be right back. Alright, so I've gone and added the chains and the lanterns. I added a handful of lightning rods into the tree as well. Not entirely sure how I like them there. I definitely think that they would be better if we were actually building these into the branches themselves. They would look really, really well for smaller branches, like what we kind of have here. They do take a little bit of work to finesse into how we want to have them here, because I definitely think they look better with the top pointing into a full block and then coming out. So I think we'll have to try those again once we actually do another tree. I think they will work really, really well in here. And again, I love the lanterns kind of hanging from the branches here. I think they look really, really nice. Now, I think what we'll do is we'll have a little copper golem up here, just because. So let's get our copper block down. We'll put our pumpkin on, and that needs to be trimmed, doesn't it? I don't have any shears. I'm willing to guess it's that. They look small, especially if they can be used as a statue. So guessing it's only going to be 1 block in a pumpkin. Although all the other golems are 2. So maybe we'll grab another copper block and we'll try that. But all in all, I'm quite happy with how that tree's turning out. I did go ahead and put some of the copper grates into the little tree that we built. and it looks so much better. So let's grab out a few more copper blocks. I don't think it will matter if they're waxed. If it does, well, we can always just unwax them pretty easily. But we'll try just carving the pumpkin first, and we can experiment from there. Oh! Okay, well that hit our copper chest there. And that got us a exposed copper chest. Okay. That means we need to oxidize that block, but that's kind of cool. Go ahead and put the copper chest down here at the bottom. I think over here. Yeah. There we go. Oh! Opens the chest. That's kind of cool. What else if we put some stuff in there? Oh. Oh, that's cute. Hey! You just take those out. Oh, where are you going? Are you trying to get over there? We need to build you a pathway here. Okay, this guy's kind of cute. Oh! Okay. I'm getting ideas here. We're gonna actually break that so he doesn't keep walking over there. That's kind of cool. Now, we do have to go and take those out of our dispenser here, but that's kind of cool. We'll have to do something with that. I love it. Definitely use that. Should be able to probably use that for sorting some stuff, I guess. Or just putting stuff away into different chests. Yeah, you definitely use that. But with that, that does get us our copper tree done. And quite liking how this is looking. We didn't use any of the bars, but again, those are going to be kind of hard to put in. If we could do those sideways maybe, but I mean, I guess what we could do is we could use them for some hanging lanterns. I don't think they'll look as nice as the chains, but if we do some of them out on the farther edges, that might work really nicely. I don't know. I'll have to try it out and see how that goes. Again, definitely using those as the trunks for the little ones. But with that, I think that's good for now for that copper tree. Again, I'll have to play around with those copper golems and see what we can do with them. A little more testing, see exactly how they work. Because again, they're definitely checking that chest. They're definitely putting stuff in other chests. So we'll have to see about that. But today, what I've got planned is I think we need to add a few more farms into this area. So down in the lower sections here, we've pretty much got this pretty filled out. I am working to dig out the center section so that we can actually start working more on the center area here. Mostly because I want to be able to get this done. And if we at least get this center 9 chunk area here dug out, then we should be able to get the central area done, get these chunks covered, and get all of our storage system here covered and set up and start getting the farms that we need to put in the center area here in. And then we can work on the rest of the pit afterwards. So what I'm thinking is that we'll start adding in some more farms higher up. We do have a chorus farm kind of already marked out, which shouldn't be that hard to do. I think that's one that we're going to save for a little bit later. Actually switch over to our other scaffolding here. So I'm going to go gather up a few things that we're probably going to need for that. And then I'm going to gather up a few things that I think we're going to need for projects. And then I'll be right back. All right, so the first island we're going to be adding is going to start off here just as a basic grass platform. And that's going to be because this is going to be for growing up our bushes and our ferns. And probably tall grass as well, although we get plenty of that from our moss farm. We just have to slow it down a little bit. So we're just going to do an 8x8 here and call that good. Prevents it from being too large, but makes it large enough that we should be able to get a good number of vines and bushes, or rather ferns and bushes. We have plenty of vines, and get enough that we can actually do something with it. So, and we're just going to start this one off as a grass platform, and I think this should be good. Again, we don't have many islands up at this height. I definitely need to get a bunch more up higher. Got the little chorus flower farm up there. We might throw that one in as well, but And small little thing. I'm not going to put any moss in this section. Don't think ferns will spread to it or the bushes. I actually haven't tested that out. So that's something we can go and check out. You find where we put all of our bone meal. Oh, I know we have some in the pumpkin farm, but I don't know if we have any in our storage right now. Now, our other farm is going to be up high here. I think we can use this pillar here to start out. Might actually put it a little bit farther over. And that is going to be an automatic mushroom farm. Now, I do have an automatic mushroom farm design that we could do. And it works all right. It's not great. It actually is incredibly slow, but it does work. We are not going to be building that farm. I actually have built it in survival before and pretty much did an entire terraforming project and got maybe 1 or 2 mushrooms from it. So I'm going to go with a different design. Basically, it's just going to be an open platform for mushrooms. We're going to put in a daylight sensor to trigger a water stream to go and go from there. So I'm thinking this one, we're just going to do a 5x5 platform. We are going to need some water and a bottle because I want to turn this all into mud. I did check, mushrooms will spread to mud, and that'll just make collection a little bit easier. Gonna need a few more hoppers though, so won't be able to get that fully in just yet. But I think it should work fairly well. Now on either side, once we actually get this transformed into mud, we'll put in a block of mycelium with a mushroom, just so that we have a block that'll stay okay for mushrooms no matter what the light level is. And we will go from there. So get out our stone here. We can go and kind of mark that out a little bit. This will eventually just be covered up and it should create mushrooms all day long. Now, I don't know how long we want to put our timer on for, because obviously if we just have a dispenser and it runs every day, we're not going to get a whole lot of mushrooms. We're not going to have enough time for them to grow up and spread across this area. So I'll have to play around with the timing a little bit. But I think this should work. Now, to keep this from spawning mobs, we're going to have our stone just 1 block above. Not going to go all the way over just yet, just so that we can actually transform this into mud. But there we go. That should be our basic setup for our farm. Now all we need is our water, transform that into mud, and a bunch more hoppers. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those things, and then I'll be right back. All right, so we've gotten the actual growing area here done. Just need to cover this off, and this should be dark enough to grow everything. But we need to get our redstone circuitry in. So for this, we have a small little circuit here. This is just so that every time this runs, we trip the dispenser twice. And what I need to find out is if this layer here needs to be stone or if it's going to be dirt. So what we have is we need to have a redstone there. That's going to go up there. We need to pick up the water. There we go. So that should just wash everything down. It should just go long enough that the water washes down through the entire thing. We need a comparator going this way. That needs to point into a hopper, which is pointing back into a dropper that I don't currently have. So we'll have a light on there, and it looks like this does, in fact, need to be grass blocks. Or rather, we got moss. We'll do moss. So there we go. That gets us this section here in. Have our hoppers mostly in underneath. And all we need is our dropper and a few blocks. I was originally going to do this as 2 different sections, so we have a second daylight sensor. But I decided let's just do it as 1 section. It'll be smaller. Probably work just as well. And then we don't have to set up 2 of these systems. All right, dropper obtained. Make sure that that's actually going the right way. No, I cannot place anything. But we'll go and toss in our items into our hopper here. So I've just got a bunch of random items. So basically what this is going to do is we'll take 8 items that stack to 64 and then 1 that doesn't. So every time the non-stackable item comes in, it will go. So every time the non-stackable item goes into the hopper, it will go and trigger our dispenser here to trigger our water. And that should work just fine. So case in point, we do that. And that is actually going too fast. We need to play with timings. Good thing about this is we can kind of play around with that. I think that should be good. Just want to check to make sure that that is going to go and wash away everything in the middle there. So we're just going to play around with our crossbow, just putting it into the hopper. And for some reason that didn't trigger. I don't know why. Let's try that again. And yeah, that's not triggering for some reason. Turn off the daylight sensor. You can try and trigger it that way, but it's a randomized thing, so I have no idea if we're just going to suddenly get it or not. So if we just trigger our daylight sensor here, see that if we get something that's not the crossbow, it doesn't fully trigger. If we ever get the crossbow here, it'll trigger this, and that should just work as a randomized day setting. So if we keep going with this and just keep letting this run, it should go and eventually just randomly trigger our dispenser here to flush all the mushrooms out and go from there. Now we can adjust this. We can take out some of our stackable items, or we could add more if we really want to. But basically, this will just work as a nice little randomizer. So everything on this layer up here is going to need to have grass and moss and everything else. And the rest of this is just going to be completely covered. So we'll put a grass carpet or moss carpet over the daylight sensor to hide it a little bit. And we're going to call that good. Again, I have to put in the rest of our hoppers here with our gas to make sure we get this fully covered. But all in all, I'm quite happy with this. Again, we'll have to see how this works. Don't think it's going to be absolutely perfect, but you know what? It's an automatic mushroom farm. I'm not going to be too picky about it. So I've got a few things to work on with that, and some islands to build up on there, and at least some parts of an island to actually kind of draft up there. And then I'll be right back. Alright, so we've gotten the top part of the island here in. Definitely an interesting shape. We'll have to play around with the underside still a bit. I've left most of it undone, just because I want to play around with the hoppers here and figure out how we're going to do the dispensers to send everything down. But all in all, I'm quite happy with how this whole area is turning out. Definitely going to have to move where the forest farm is going to be, because that's a little too close to that island now. So I'm thinking we might shift it over to the right away from this island and probably a bit farther up. I know I was kind of hedging going too far up because we do have the shulker farm to put in at the top. But it looks like we have a little bit of snow up here. So maybe we could put in a powdered snow farm or a ice farm somewhere up here. Definitely need to light up some of the areas though, because that's got a lot of mobs on it. And there's definitely a lot of mobs around here. May have to go on a lighting expedition just to light this whole mountain up at some point. Probably eventually just light all the way up to the main base and around here. But that'll be another project. We've got this island at least scaffolded. But with that, I think that that's probably going to be it for today. And we've got a lot of work just putting in undersides to islands on around here. That needs to happen. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more what is going on in this area and in the rest of this world. And I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.